need to investigate this police officer's history here because check this out. So he goes like this. I just want to point it out.
Friends and colleagues of Tim Ballard and their reactions on the allegations accusing him of sexual assault.
One of them, a former Salt Lake City police officer, saying that he didn't believe the allegations until his close friends opened up and shared what had happened to them.
There you go. So this is a police officer that was hired, and obviously he didn't believe anybody. They didn't seem credible until it was one of his friends. No, this is bullshit. He has the same mentality, and he's running around with his America fucking shirt on and everything else. All these men knew that all these guys are a bunch of rapists. They hate women. They degrade us, and they're part of government. So one of the newer stories that came out, besides this Tim Ballard garbage, because we already covered that, and they're asking for investigations. Who's going to do the investigations? Because it sure as hell shouldn't be FBI. FBI is involved in all this crap of harming women and their fucking bullshit ideology up in there. So who did they go hire as a fucking narky dude? Didn't we just cover this? Billionaire Peter Thiel was an FBI informant. I told you about this informant bullshit. These narc dudes, okay? Who wants to be a fucking narc for FBI? Some fucking criminal motherfucker is going to be a narc for FBI. Because all it's doing is protecting the house of rapists. These government guys keep going, this isn't our moral values or anything like that. Yada, yada, yada. We already read his ideology, right? Racism is imaginary and we rape women, right? So this is the guy that FBI goes, yes, let's bring this guy in. The guy that ripped off women and ran them over and, you know, with their PayPal bullshit and everything else, where they call themselves a mafia. I mean, hello. You guys think it's a joke or something? No, they're billionaires, right? So these are the same assholes that go out here calling us gold diggers with their hate speech. That is hate speech, by the way, you idiots. And they want to control our speech. No, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. I don't care what you do. It's not going to happen. We're not going to be like you. Yeah, so it was FBI that set me up, got me harmed, did this bullshit, sat back and watched it, and then get this guy as an informant. And then we have Elon Musk like coming out going, you know, the FBI was part of this thing. It's like, of course they were. So who was targeting me the whole time? Yeah, it's pretty obvious who's involved in this, right? Because like I said, with even the Nygaard thing, it's just another portion of the bigger puzzle, right? Where another billionaire was trying to fight these people, right? It's just kind of an interesting dynamic because I don't think that any of these men really give a shit about us because they never talk about us. They target us every day. They did a fake crusade with Backpage. All their men are a bunch of perverts that have sex parties and sex rings and raping kids and all this stuff. And so the minute that somebody posts something like that online, government is supposed to go and investigate it. And what they do is target women instead, right? So they obviously obtained information from victims and used it as intel to protect themselves. 1,000% they did this. Because where did you see the arrest? So the outcome is what you need to look at. And so if people had reported this stuff and then nothing is done, yeah, it's obvious there's corruption, right? But technically speaking, this is the ideology of fucking trash America. And it's been that way since the beginning. So technically we're fighting against it. They are extremists. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They are the extremists. It's not a debate. Male supremacy is extremism. There's no non-violent form of fucking male supremacy. This is white male supremacy, though, when they're talking about racism is imaginary. Who the hell is going on like that? Peter. So this is the guy the FBI goes, we need you, dude. We need you. You're perfect. You hold our values and morals. Exactly. That's it. That's what you need to know. The Tim Ballards, you guys were not had. You guys agreed with them. I hate what these men are doing. They're trying to paint themselves as victims in this charade. They are not victims. They know exactly what they're doing. They're there to protect themselves and to harm women. They want to control women and human traffic them. America's is founded on human trafficking. They're telling us to go to the actual human traffickers and tell them, hey, there's human trafficking over here. Government is the one that made this criteria to not be able to go at them. That was the whole thing. They were very open about it to me. They're like, oh, well, we get grants from government, so therefore we can't target ourselves. So you need to go to the cops. It's like, what? I'm telling you, they are involved. And so if you did follow the Peter Nygaard story, that actually shows exactly what's going on, okay? With everybody, not just him. It's just one of the cases where it got more intricate, where it showed how he befriended a lot of government people. They all helped each other out. Everybody's getting perks, but it's not just because of the perks. They're not just getting led on because of the perks. They want to rape women. They want power and control. And so we talk a lot about like these serial killers and stuff. And, you know, one of my followers made some good points because we both went to college for philosophy. It was kind of funny because she has a different point of view about it. And then I have a different point of view about it. But either way, together, it comes together, because what I was saying is that from my perspective, is that these people are born with a clean slate, right? Because nobody's born with knowing the CIA or FBI or any of this crap, or, you know, let's rape women and men are the kings of the universe. Like, you're not born with that. But like, you could be born with disabilities and other problems. Sure. Yeah. But the thing is that the abuses that happen to them because they have those things then lead into this other stuff. And I was saying we could literally pinpoint the abuses itself about it. And their profiling is from like the 80s, like before they would even consider that Christians were abusers, right? And that they sexually molested all these kids, right? And they were promoting rape and human trafficking of women and children, right? And forcing marriages on kids and all those things. So when they were doing the profiling, that was my point about the profiling. I was like, yeah, the wetting the bed doesn't mean anything, because almost every other kid did that. You know what I mean? And then some longer than others. And ours was checked out by a doctor, and they were trying to say that it was because, like, your body isn't, I was trying to think of how they worded it. Like, you know, like when you're a kid and how you kept doing that, right? And then you eventually grow out of it, that your body just wasn't mature enough yet to whatever. I can't explain it to you, but there was actually a medical thing, how they explained what was going on. And but I attribute it to an additional of abuse, because when it would happen, they would abuse me more, saying I was lazy and didn't get up at night, and so I just would pee on myself on purpose or something. That my dad's mom, not my parents, but my dad's mom and them. And then they would get me in trouble for it sometimes. And so, like, it was something that I was doing on purpose, which I wasn't. But it's kind of a cycle, because then they'll freak you out, right? Like, you're going to get in trouble because you did it, and then you start hiding it, and it became this thing, right? And it lasted actually for many years. And so, you know, nobody really knows exactly the causation of that, but it doesn't equate to I'm going to be a serial killer, okay? Like, it's just like fucking ridiculous, right? So they had these criterias that they would put down, like the animal abuse stuff. I go, there's so many kids that abused animals that they didn't come out being a serial killer, right? Lots of kids abuse animals because they don't know better, or, you know, the initial curiosity to that. And, you know, and then later I was talking about how I like fur coats and shit like that. You know what I mean? But I'm not a serial killer, right? So I was like, there's some additions in that stuff, and we're trying to get down to it. And, I go, sure, yeah, if you're like sitting there skinning cats and shit, yeah, you would really want to be concerned about that. But there's some other things involved, right? With the other case where the guy's into strangling. He also said that he's like, and then I took a shot at it. And I was thinking also, I was like, did they check the animal to see if it had a bullet wound? Because his wording is weird. But it also indicated that he took photos probably of the victims, right? And so sure enough, I found this podcast last night, and they said that when they were following him, I guess maybe when he took off to Canada, on the side of his seat, he had like a tank of videotapes. And I was like, yeah, he was kind of alluding to, like, he gets off on watching, and taking photos of these dead bodies. So he probably, I didn't know he had the mannequin thing at the pool house. Okay, so apparently he got this huge mansion, and he had all these, like, mannequins around. I guess like they were at an elegant dinner or something like that. The one guy's calling it a fetish, but I'm like, there's some other stuff with that guy. But anyways, like he could have propped the dead bodies and took video. Like I said, there was a lot in it where you just don't know. You would know if you had the videos, right? But it could have been a thing where he posed him, and you don't know because the guy is off kilter. And he has an obsession with dead things, but not in a good way, right? Not like in a way where he respects the dead. Like, there's people like that. And I was thinking of all these different things, and I was like, man, I even had a raccoon jaw. But it's not out of the sake of, oh, we should kill animals. It's out of a different place. And I mean, they obviously had stores where people were into that stuff. I was like thinking about, the psychology to that. It wasn't to go murder animals. I love animals, but yeah, it was interesting because I was thinking about it. I was like, yeah, no, that wouldn't be the indicator because I didn't turn out to be a serial killer. So what is the additions in that, right? So the main thing was the Christian ideology with the hating of the gays and how evil it was. And there was a lot of self-loathing gay men, right? But they promoted rape. And so Peter Thiel was writing his bullshit about he's pro-rape and knocking people out and they shouldn't have agency. And that they should take responsibility for themselves for somebody raping them. But again, this is how FBI thinks. And FBI in the case of Paul Flores got him drunk and tried to kidnap him to another state. That's a rapist, because that's what they do, right? So their ideology matches with Peter Thiel. You could not get that job at FBI unless you hate women so fucking goddamn much. And the women there are terrible. At least the ones that I had talked to, I was like, well, you're acting the same way as any other rapist, so I don't know. You don't sound bothered at all about human trafficking. You don't sound bothered at all that I got raped a million times and dumped here. That's a major crime. And so if you're going to be on anything, you need to be on the celebrities and the other men that help do it, and such as law enforcement, right? So if I cannot report on law enforcement, then it's just a free game of corruption where they're just all involved in it. And you see it in the Nygaard case, right? He's in court right now in Canada. And I'm like, don't let him come here because they'll just let him go. Because look at all the other guys that are involved in it, right? And Danny boy, they just let him run free. He's a human trafficker too, and they know it. Who's all his friends? The cops, government officials, all those people, right? It's corrupt. We know who's involved in this. It's government. You cannot run human trafficking rings like that without government being involved. Mostly by high-profile men, and they're the ones with the money to do it, right? So they have to be okaying conduct, and the conduct that they're okaying, they're trying to fight with us victims, saying it's okay that we rape you. I told you, they were fighting with me on the phone. It's okay to go kidnap a kid and sexually molest them as a little kid and take them across the state of California. Basically, that's what they were saying, yeah. And I'm like, wow, well, if government's arguing that, then why are they saying something different in the media, right? So they're playing games with you, and I'm trying to teach everybody how to read these sociopaths because they say one thing and they do another. And no, the serial killer that I talked about yesterday, Herb, was not trying to make himself seem that he fit into the public. He was actually getting off on doing something so sadistic, and he got attention for it and got a kick out of it going in the media. That's his true nature. not that he's trying to fit in. Are you kidding? What he did was he's like, this is like my scheming way that I could do something where I get off on, right? Strangling something and having an animal, I'll have its neck like spray painted over and take close-up photos with it with his son, which is so disgusting. It's so disgusting. Like, the entire thing. I would have to ask the son, like, would it happen right before that incident? Because I believe he actually took the animal and dragged it to the line and then waited for them to come by and do it. But the son wasn't in the interview, right? So the son can't sit there and go, oh, dad put or maybe the kid didn't see it, right? No, I believe he purposely laid it on the line right to the neck, right? Because he keeps talking about the neck and he has a thing about strangling. So yes, including on himself, I found out. And I go, that's very interesting. So those sexual kinky things, actually are born from the early portions where they didn't zoom in on. Why that was occurring. Again, you need that information there. No, they were not born with that. That's the thing, because he could have been born with some disability type things, right? And it's the dad that's abusing them. So the combination of that and or neglect, right? Because the public itself was a piece of shit here back then, that he would turn out that way. Yeah, I mean, it's probably a combo cluster with that guy, like his actions and the father abusing him and the anti-gay rhetoric back then, right? So then he's kind of self-loathing and he goes and he kills himself, basically, right? I mean, not just suicide, but I mean, he's killing himself. He's killing other gay males, right? So yeah, we see this constantly in different scenarios, such as women doing it. And it's still going back to the male supremacy ideology with Christianity, right? Where they target themselves. And so you have to continually fight against that because it's hard ingrained in you from a child, because the environment is that. So even if your parents are like, we don't believe in the Bible, the environment is still that. And yeah, so I was like, yeah, those things play a lot, the roles in this. Yeah, a big part. Yeah. And so such as, I was trying to say, like, the white male supremacists would say that all people of color are born evil. And so you wouldn't want to have that kind of thinking because it's not true, number one. But number two, it's because they were abusive to them, right? In the slave days and whenever maybe prior, but they were abusive to them, right? So when they're born, they're being abused by the white man. And so then they therefore would abuse their kids because it's the cycle of abuse there, right? So then even after the slave days and they stopped, being slaves to them. I mean, are they really? But anyway, as they stopped being slaves to them, but that's how they learned to take care of their kids, right? And so then they would abuse their kids. So that's probably what you're seeing in this cycle of abuse. So it's not that they were born bad or anything. It's that the cycle of abuse keeps going, and the longer it goes, the worse it's getting. If they don't stop, right? So then it's just cycling this stuff out. And then they keep abusing them and keep blaming them for the abuse. And then you see these, actions such as criminals, right? Because they're just coming out of this hot mess of shit, right? So they weren't born that way. That's not correct. But they may be born with other problems. Yeah, like autism or maybe some other mental illnesses. But a lot of the mental illnesses are caused from abuse. So to what extent of how many, I don't know. Maybe most, if not all, I don't know. Like it's a question because when I was looking into this, it was talking about all the mental illnesses that, treating someone terrible, causes, right? And then they're talking about the mental illnesses that people of color got from the abuses of, the white man, right? So I was actually going through that. I was like, I was not aware of that because I don't get into mental illness stuff, particularly other than the PD, right? So I try to focus on one thing because it gets very complicated when you start getting into all the other stuff, and I don't want to diagnose people with all that other stuff, but I focus on this particularly so I could pull it out. Even if somebody has 10 million other mental illnesses, right? I could pull this out of it. They're not pulling it out of it. So even if he was schizophrenic, like this one guy thinks, I go, of him peeing on a desk, I go, well, the peeing on the desk is a malicious act. So it's him saying F you and him doing it. There have been other individuals doing that, such as somebody that we followed before, actually did some bullshit like that to somebody else. And why was it done, right? To be malicious, right? Is that an antisocial behavior? Yeah. I mean, I would never do that. Do people take that seriously? No, because at the time when I was reading it, I was just kind of like, F those guys anyway, because their other buddies set me up to get raped, right? But they actually don't care that I got raped at all. Like, none of them. They don't care about any of that they raped me as a child, nothing. So yeah, they are sociopaths, definitely. But when you're talking about him wanting to taste urine, that comes from something in the earlier portions, regardless if he's schizophrenic or not. It comes from a place, and I'm trying to figure out, like, where did that come from, just specifically. So, like, when I'm looking through these cases in the future, that I'm like, oh, okay, so when he got abused as a kid, dad probably did this, or this situation happened here. Like something, right? I just have no reference to where that came from. Nor the strangling thing. So it could be a number of things, you guys. Like, dad could have tried to choke him down because he was being bad one day and he wouldn't settle down. You know what I mean? It could be any of those things, and it's kind of hard to figure out when they completely ignored that portion of the story. They like all the terrible stuff, right? Like the portions where, like, at 14, they start going completely loco, right? And then they want to just sit there and follow that from then on, right? But that's the aftermath of the things that led up to that. And so you want to go back into the early portions so you can see what was doing it and then combat it, you know, with education with other parents, like, don't do this because this is going to be your outcome. And, you know, a lot of these parents are such abusers, they wouldn't give a shit anyway and do it anyway, right? But just generally, like, some people do things out of ignorance. Others do it out of pure evil, vile hate, and they just do it. Okay, so, and they need to get help, you know? And so then it makes the world dangerous, right? Because then these monsters come out. That's my personal view, and I can point that out through research and everything else. So in the research on a lot of these mental illnesses, it puts that in the tag. Those overly religious type of parents, a structured parenting thing, and also military type parents, that is literally in there. And so, but that's what they want to uphold as being a great parent. And yet it literally states the abuse and the mental illnesses that those things cause. It's almost like they're too scared to just go, oh, these Christian families. I mean, while it's not limited to Christian families, it's many different religions that have this problem. It needs to be hit on top of his head. Okay, that shit's really bad. And mostly if you're telling a kid being gay is bad, and then they're born gay. I mean, the guy's gay. Now, I don't know why he turned gay. You know what I mean? Like, there's a big question of, like, how that comes about anyway. But what it was kind of saying in his stuff was, like, some sort of sexual abuse did occur. I don't know what it was, but at the time, again, they were promoting rape, and they didn't see anything that they did as sexual, and you know what I mean? It was that whole thing. Tech billionaire Peter Thiel was an FBI informant. He's perfect for the FBI. They all hate women. They all think racism is imaginary, and only white men, you know, really work at all these agencies. You know what I mean? It's like, ha ha ha. So he's worn many hats over the years. Founder Trump, so he loved Trump, and Trump's a rapist. They were all involved in human trafficking up there. Oh, cryptocurrency booster, skeptic. If I hear the skeptic, they could get like the Lawrence Krauss thing, where he kept saying it like habitually. But there's yet another faucet to Thiel, and one has remnant secrets until now. FBI informant. I don't know who leaked him. It's probably Elon. I don't know in the summer of 2021, and I'm getting targeted to shit. And I already attacked Thiel like about a decade or so ago. And nobody cared, right? Other than the mafia here. Yeah, because like I said, they were doing things on the PayPal thing that were so outrageous. Trying to sex shame women, and yet they rape all these guys and have sex parties and human trafficking rings and everything else so depraved, right? And I'm like, these women have a job, a legal job, by the way, and they wanted to limit them from making money. And so they went and stole their money and closed accounts out and did this thing and sex shame, sex shame, sex shame. I'm like, the room of these people is amazing. Your buddies over here are a bunch of rapists that have sex parties. So what the fuck? Why are you able to gain money to run human trafficking rings and cover for your friends? So another addition of Peter, that he was so pissed off and he has the money to do it, abuses power and be a bully, goes after Gawker. Now, he was doing it under, I got to protect Hulk Hogan, or whatever the bullshit was. But on the sideline, you guys, Gawker was actually outing Kevin Spacey's rapist conduct. And that's one of his pals over there, up in there. And they're all friends with, Jeffrey Epstein, everybody up in here. But it's an ideology. It's not because Jeffrey's this head ringleader and that he's holding, blackmail on everybody here. They're all fucking rapists. Who fucking cares? You know what I mean? They go, so-and-so's into children and raping them. Nobody cared. They were promoting it at the time out in the open. So it's not blackmail to anybody. What the hell crap are they trying to pull over here? So, no, they're pulling a fast one on you. And then they threw Q out here to really fuck with your head. I knew it. And I kept saying, Q seems like something created by government where it was like based on, the start of it's like based on the truth, right? Because Jeffrey Epstein was definitely a human trafficker. He was definitely with these fucking celebrities. And so I learned about it early on because somebody brought it up, because Twitter used to be a great place for media, right? News and stuff from people where the media didn't tackle it, right? And so all that information came up. And then they brought up R. Kelly to me as well in the middle of this. And I go, wow, dude, that dude, I was like, I don't even listen to that. So I know that song, but, So then I went looking into it and I go, oh, hell no. And then all these celebrities wanted to cover it up. They still do. Oh, these are my friends, people lie for money. The same bullshit that male supremacists created, those lies, right? The spins, the conspiracies. And the women run with it like idiots that they are, right? And then they try to step back and go, oh, I'm a victim too, and that's why I'm an asshole. No, that isn't it. So now we're hearing all these cops saying, I didn't believe these women till one of them was my friend. You have a job for the public, so that's how you think of it? No, you were fine with these guys being in the open, talking shit about women and degrading them. And Beck too was another one that was being a misogynist and trashing women and all this shit. So no, your ideology matches up with a guy that rapes a bunch of women. So you should look at yourself. You're not a victim. You were not had. You agreed with them. You actually don't have a problem with it. If it wasn't thrown in your face and out in the media, you would still be for it. You're full of shit. Respect on our gender as a whole is they're male supremacists, they're sociopaths. That's it. So I'm teaching everybody about that. You should know them like the back of your hand. They're sitting there trying to boast and enjoy making up lies and conspiracies about our gender all day long. They get off on it. Like they literally get off on it. Our government is the biggest crock-of-lying shit ever. Oh, you care about victims and you threw them in the street. Can you explain that? Those two things don't go together, government. And nor the lie, dude, the lies to me about shit. You need to go do this investigation on your own in your state. Okay, so they're watching them be gang members, and they knew they were gang members the whole fucking time, which is the other portion of this that's such a crock of shit. They knew about it for decades. And they're like, what's a big deal of white gang members? We only go after black gang members, and our interest is only on black gang members. But white gang members we create even in the fucking colleges. Yeah, they actually created that mentality through white, rich colleges with the frat house boys, right? Those are real gangs. They can sit there and try to pretty it up and sugarcoat that thing, but those are gang members. So their whole thing is the brotherhood, right? Well, what were gangs originally? Brotherhood, right? But what came first? More than likely the white gangs, because I think it was a thing to combat it. I don't know much of the history about it, but I was reading this thing, a little bit of it, where it was like originally it was this way, and then it turned into this dark underworld of, horrific shit, right? It kind of progressed into something it shouldn't be, kind of that kind of thing. And so, no, that was the historical stuff. I go, yeah, it is kind of important to know the history of that stuff. So your perspective will change when things are presented properly, such as the colleges were white gang member, frat houses, right? They're gang members. So they were teaching the gang ideology. So it explains when white men get together and they automatically start creating gangs, right? So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they were in a gang prior or anything else. They just automatically do it because they were kind of like ingrained in American culture to be a gang. You see women kind of doing it. I don't know if I'd say on the same level that men do it, but they do have female frat houses and things like that. But they do not stick together as much as they'll stick together to harm themselves, yeah, in the same mindset as men do. But do you really see them standing together to protect themselves? No, not really. That's why women don't want to come forward. But now that men are coming forward more often right now, it's an interesting dynamic to see because they're treating them just as equally as shitty, right? And so I'm like, yeah, that's the shit that you guys all created. So it's a self-harm thing for men, right? But they are coming after them, like calling them liars, or they don't care. They're not even bothered, that these guys got raped, they went at them kind of in a similar fashion, but at the same time promoting them to get raped by women. But then yet coming out at the same time going, oh, look, see, women rape too. Why do they get off? Doing this thing. It's like, wow, I don't know. You sound like an idiot. Maybe you aren't listening to yourself speak. It's really that. So I like to study the comment section. I think it's really important. They need to stop muting it because it's going to get harder and harder to be able to tell like who's a sociopath and who's not. And I think that's another reason why they're doing it is so they can cover themselves up and they could just go freely and raping everybody and being corrupt and doing the shit that they always have because they're piece of shit, sociopath, male supremacists. They're trash. They're trash. I'm not supporting anybody that comes after me. Are you kidding? No, you don't deserve anything. You could cancel anything. I can cancel everybody I fucking want to. Oh, boo-hoo. Because they're not accountable and they're fucking toxic shit just being fucking in our orbit has fucking caused me a lifelong series of pain and trauma and everything else. I'm not supporting that crap. They never supported me. There you go. That's all you need to know with that. Move on from that to the new Tim Ballard thing where they're asking for, these are the same guys, Governor Spencer Cox calls for a criminal investigation into the allegations against Tim Ballard. The thing that pisses me off about all this is that Spencer's a piece of shit and Tim's a piece of shit, but they're trying to act like Tim's alone in this, and he's the only guy that acts like this in government. He's a fucking CIA and Homeland guy. No, that's the culture of CIA and Homeland and FBI and the police and the DOJ and obviously the state attorney's office. That shit over there, all of them. This is their culture. This is every guy in it. They're trying to act like, oh, God, we had no idea he acted like that with the ladies. Oh, shit, it was not us. We got to act like we're not part of this. Every single one of them I've talked to. I don't think I called Tim Ballard, you guys. If I did, he's an asshole. No, they have been talking shit to me on the phone. Those things are factual. They were laughing at child rape. They laughed at human trafficking. They laughed at everything. Everything's a joke, right? And women are not credible, right? Oh, up until it's your friend. Yeah, you see, you're the fuck faces. Yeah. Yeah, so you have to know me. You have to know me to know that these things are credible. Okay, uh-huh. And by the way, they tape us online. They tape us on the phone calls, so why didn't they just get the phone call recording? You would see where they were laughing at child rape and saying that Bill Cosby will never get busted. Ah, yeah. Why didn't you pull the audio of that? Because I know government tapes me every time I call. So, there would be a backing to it. They erased that shit because it's them looking bad, not me. Slam, 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 slam phone. That was wonderful. We treat victims with respect. And it's slamming the phone down, talking shit to me. That's real life, right? Their bullshit in the media is just garbage because they're lying socios. You need to be able to get it when they're talking. They're not sincere. They're not sincere at all. The fact that anybody looked at that serial killer talking in the media and thought he's being sincere and he had empathy for dead animals is insane. His actual background is abusing dead corpses. Corpse. I'm like corpses. Corpse. So, no, there was no sincerity in that. Those are the men you marry. And you believe the lies, and they're not sincere. I know the insincerity. You can sit there and say you love me all day long. I know you hate me. So you need to be able to pull that out from people because they're extraordinarily dangerous, and you could end up in a family side suicide thing from a lot of these men as well, right? While they may not be serial killers, they certainly are rapists, but they also can kill at a later point in life, such as a family side, right? So it's not like the some of the signs of, like, they wouldn't be a serial killer throughout this thing, but they will have these same traits. Like, the traits are common in almost all these men, right? Some of these traits are very common in other females. So these things are also to be, for other men, in the sense that you need to be able to identify it. And if you identify with any portion of this trait, you should go get therapy because you're taking your shit out on the rest of the planet, It's like that thing. I was talking specifically to no one when I was giving these lectures on it, but I think people, when they hear it, they automatically, like, they're getting convicted. Like, I always have these things, like, when they're saying bedwetting, I'm like, I feel convicted, because this is fucked up, because it's about me, it's about something that I had a problem with as a kid and I was abused by over, okay? And it pisses me off, right? So, and it's not my fault, right? So, but at the same time, me peeing the bed is not killing everybody. It's not harming anybody. It's not doing anything to any other person, right? But the stuff I'm talking about is conduct where men and some other women harm other people, and why it is important. And they're the biggest spreaders of mental illness. And it's such a fucking epidemic that they have not targeted it properly. And they're totally fine with femicide. That is disgusting. And this is the portion where men just go, it's totally cool that we kill women. We try to justify murdering women. We try to justify raping them. We try to justify not paying them. We try to do all this justification, and we have to put ourselves as the victims to them. So that's the mindset of male supremacy. That's why it's called it's extremism, right? Because it's so, you cannot take a group of people and lump them up like that. Now they like to flip it on its head and say, you're doing that to me. And that's bullshit. You are the abuser. So you don't get to play that card. That's the thing about it. We're not abusing you. Now that's really the made up fantasy of this whole fucking thing. We don't hold the power like they do, right? We never did. We were supposed to actually never make our own money, and we're supposed to be sex slaves to these men, right? That was the historical thing on it. And white men particularly, like to abuse their power on women at any time of day. The divorce thing, because men owned all our money, right? So then in divorce, they're supposed to pay them because you didn't let them work. So they want to sit there and own slaves and toss them into the street so they can't live after they own them as a slave. Ha! Yeah, so then they started making up all these derogatory terms towards their slaves, women, right? Unfortunately, no one viewed this properly and didn't care, and they think that women have agency in the historical thing here. No, they didn't. Oh, how weird is this? This commercial popped up. It goes, "My now ex-wife drained me dry during the divorce proceedings." This is the guy that I am the victim, and he probably said she can't work and all this shit. "She took the house, the car, savings, and almost everything we had. She was determined to leave me dry, and I did not even contest her. As we were walking out of the courtroom, I looked at her and smirked, and it was like, 'Why are you smirking? You just lost.'" Like, what? The whole thing is stupid. This is a commercial. So that's supposed to actually target male supremacists, incels, I guess, or something. So for the Tim Ballard story, he has a lot of friends, okay? They're all a bunch of rapists, and they act in this way. The Utah Attorney General's office on Friday released a new... Oh, see, here's another Attorney General's office. The California one is the biggest corrupt pieces of shit ever. They were notified that the cops were gang members. What did they say, right? "Keep going at them, girl. Yeah, so I can get killed." Utah's going to be the same, if not worse, than the California one. But I would say they're equally as shitty. Okay, so they both have their heads up their ass. Okay, so in a new statement in response to comments from Governor, the Attorney General's office is not able to comment on investigations, either current or hypothetical. The Attorney General's office opens investigations based on merit, not speculation. Okay, so what's your merit? So if it comes from a woman, there's no merit to it. But if it's speculation, that's actually not true, because cops will sit there and they go online and they see somewhere they're like, "This girl's a slut." Okay, well, that's based on speculation, and then they close their accounts out, right? That's not by merit. And why are you targeting women in that way to begin with, Utah, you assholes? But anywhere, right? Anywhere. So basically, they're calling women liars again when they start saying that based on merit. You have a problem with their language here as well. So if I tell you something's happening, so based on merit. So what are you going by? Because I'm a female? And the whole time, by the way, during this process of Tim Ballard being a piece of shit, I was posting about factual things about government and their conduct, and even brought up some of that Homeland stuff, but not in the way that you would probably know maybe right away as I'm talking about it. But I basically threw information out here. So based on merit. Do you want me? Because if I pull up photos of these guys, then they come at me saying it's blackmail, even though I'm not asking or demanding money or anything like that. It's blackmail on me because I'm in the middle of trying to investigate these people, and these men entered the picture on their own accord. And so what do you want to call that? It's not me seeking out government, guys. It's government coming to me and inserting themselves into my life. And it's government that wanted to fake crusade. This is a bigger picture that people are not getting with this Tim Ballard thing. The Tim Ballard thing was a setup, a pre-setup, so government can do manipulation to go after Backpage. And that whole conduct, I said, at least started maybe since 2010. Originally, I was thinking, like, there's no way that they started that shit that far. No, they actually probably did. Because they needed the public to be perverted enough to sit there and believe the bullshit that they were saying, to okay them to then go and target people that are innocent and have nothing to do with the bullshit that they're hiding. The bullshit that they're hiding is rich men, human trafficking women and males, right? It was not anything to do with Backpage. That is a very rare occurrence, and even if it did happen, those are like small apple. You know what I mean? It's low hanging fruit. What you're looking for is these guys right here running massive rings outside and inside the country. And it's these men doing it. Poor people may have some small ring on the side and shit like that. That was the only thing that government was interested in. That was the only thing, guys. I could tell you that, solemnly swear, and my credibility, that was the only thing they were interested in. But not the rich celebrities and government men that were involved in this stuff. So there was a long time setup with Tim Ballard and a million other people that are involved in this charade, this scheme, this scam to target our gender, specifically women. And it had nothing to do with human trafficking, nothing at all. It has to do with their religion up their ass, right? And their male supremacist fucking ideology and them being pro-rapist. That's the truth of it all. They're all involved. They are. And every little suspicion of them, you thinking that, you're right. You're right. You're completely right. And so for me, when I was hitting up into this orbit, I didn't realize, we're talking like 2 decades ago, right? I didn't realize how big this is, okay? It's pretty damn big. They're covering themselves. They cover themselves raping me as a child and watching that shit. They cover themselves kidnapping me. They cover themselves turning people into fucking narcs to let them off the hook, right? They never got arrested. Where did that guy get arrested? That one in the 92? Nowhere. You know, there's all these questions, right? And you should ask those questions. Where's all the arrest? Where's all the arrest? Tons of people gave you credible information. Government wants to make its own definition of what human trafficking is. Anything that doesn't involve us, and if it's rape, we're fine with rape. So at his monthly PBS is a problem in here as well, right? So I got rape working with the PBS job. That's part of the situation there, right? There's a big cover-up. There's a big cover-up, PBS. Utah News Conference Thursday. 2 News directly asked Cox, who is a lawyer, is there should be criminal investigation into Ballard. Who's going to do it? Because if it's you guys, fuck it. I think yes. I think prosecutors would have a duty to investigate. It is important that justice is served. Yeah, but you're acting like it's just him, and we know that you're involved too, so it's kind of a joke, isn't it? Yeah. These men, you can't trust a goddamn fucking white man. You need to learn you can't trust the white man asking them to, they're the king human traffickers. They've been the king human traffickers. So we need to go to a man that's human trafficking women, mostly. We need to go to a man to fucking have them help us combat raping a bunch of women. Ah, that's funny. That's the joke on us all, right? They come in here, they have a savior complex, that they're the rapist, and then they want to be the hero at the same time. They need to teach women's history properly. They were victims of human trafficking to the white man. All they ever did was manipulate women and try to tell them that they were part of the Constitution by them calling us men. I love that. That has to be the best thing ever because they're so anti he, him, them, they, that crap. But at the beginning, at school, they tried to say that the he, him, they crap was meaning women. It worked for them then, right? Now they're anti that. Okay, good. Now you're solidifying that we were never part of the country. Thank you. Because we always knew that, right? All men are created equal. Only the white man. Their ideology is so fucked in the head, right? Because they're sociopaths. Forcing little girls to have babies. And then men treat them like shit too. Their sons treat them like shit. Isn't that perfect? They go treat them like shit. Isn't that wonderful? Y'all got problems. Y'all got problems. Major. And yes, you are to blame. Take some accountability finally and stop putting the accountability on your victims. We go again with men, and their fucking brohood. I would be comfortable just because I know those attorneys. Well, here's my opinion on that. I would not be comfortable with any attorney because they've all been predator perverts, okay? The ones I've been dealing with. You're a man. I'm a woman. And you guys okayed that conduct from other lawyers on me. Awesome, guys. Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course you feel comfortable, dude. He's not going down your fucking pants, or trying to get you to go on a date, or trying to hug you, or doing any of these things, right? Or covering up child rape and some conduct on fucking children. Those are the attorneys I know. Those are the attorneys I've always known. Yeah, can we proposition you to pay for your fucking, services with this on me over $3.50 an hour? Yeah, those are the ones I know. And those are the ones that the fucking state bar covers up for. So can you explain that? Well, those are the ones I know. Credibility, I showed them. So they had it in front of them. So there's credibility there, right? But you still found a way to fucking cover up for the lawyers, the white man. Because they spent so much time in college. We should just let them, proposition women and touch them and everything else, because, we got to protect the white boy. And they're not all white, by the way. There's a couple in here that were not white. One in particular. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, because you know them. No, I trust nobody because you say you trust somebody because you know them. I'm going to tell you this. There's nobody that you could ever really know. None. I wouldn't defend anybody with allegations. I wouldn't defend any of that. And I tend to believe people with that, since that seems to be the common traits of men consistently. So, and considering our country is pro-rape, why would you not be a rapist? You promote it, so why would any attorney not be a rapist? Any attorney going into a courthouse trying to defend somebody fucking raping a child and sitting there saying you wanted it, you're pretty much a rapist. I mean, you can't think of any other defense for your guy. Here's this governor, the one that's going on like this. So his roots are in hating women and hating the gays. Okay, so this is from 2016. So just to see where, this is where this is going. In a moving, tearful speech, because he's the victim, right? Utah's lieutenant governor apologized for past homophobia, even though he looks like he might come out anytime. Okay, at a Monday's vigil in Salt Lake City for the victims of the Orlando shooting. By the way, anybody that had any gay hate speech or anything like that, hate speech is not from me pointing out the monsters, the gay monsters. That is just a legitimate thing, but it's due to this ideology. But anybody that's coming out just hating a group of people for no reason, because they didn't do anything to you, and they had a mass shooting because of it, you help murder those people, okay? The Utah Lieutenant Governor, Spencer Cox, the same one that's going on right now, gave a moving, tearful speech apologizing to... Why a moving, tearful speech? He is not the victim. Men, these white men keep putting themselves as the victim. It's so fucking annoying. To the LGBTQ community for treating them poorly in his early life and expressing gratitude to them for helping him realize the error of his ways. Really? Okay, so this is the guy that's going to sit there and could say that he cares about women getting raped. Okay, this is the joke of it. Because hating gays, right? Actually, the root is them hating women, okay? Because that's part of male supremacy. That's what I'm pointing out. So in an incredible speech full of empathy and humility. And it's, no, because you don't have empathy because you literally treated a group of people like shit, like knowingly. Like, that's a different thing. Okay, like I said, there's this level of, like, people fling out shit, like, ignorantly without knowing. But, like, to just hate a group of people, like an entire group of people, right? Means that you're a goddamn sociopath for no reason, right? No reason. It's not, oh, the gays like fucking harmed you, right? And you have like some legitimate fight, over something, right? There is a difference in mindset here. So if you sit there and you throw someone out on the street, now you're the perpetrator, so they have the right to get pissed off at you, right? That's that thing. So nobody did anything to them. They grew up saying that they were born evil and they're sin and they're Satan and this, and we need to throw them in the street and so they could die and get the diseases are caused by them and this and that, God's punishing them, right? Yeah, this is where he came from. You did not change overnight from that type of thing. You didn't develop empathy for women nor other groups of people. So your empathy game, it's just a fucking, it's a manipulation. It's a manipulation. And no, he's not cured. He's not cured, guys. They needed to hear their credibility. See, they try to use this word credibility and with merit as a way to cover up for their hateful ideology on our gender and that we're all objects, right? The speech is not only a moving tribute to Orlando victims, it's also a great example of how to be a good ally to marginalized communities that you support but aren't a member of. How about atheists? That would be nice, one day that, people treat us like humans, because we don't believe in your bullshit. So you shouldn't be rubbing your bullshit down our fucking face. I'm not telling you not to believe in a God, but I am saying that your fucking religions are a cult and you fucking harmed everybody with them. And you're forcing it on everybody else. So religion shouldn't be forced in any school, any government, any fucking bullshit anywhere. But unfortunately, because the society's created from it, we have no choice, do we? We're just raped by it completely. Okay, so anyway, Cox started off saying that he had an admission and an apology for the vigil attendees. I recognize fully that I'm a balding, youngish, middle-aged, straight, white, male Republican politician that wants to control women's bodies, and you're trying to say you're sorry here? No. Many in the crowd burst into laughter at this. Why? Because you all relate, huh? You're all a bunch of rapists with all the expectations and privileges that come with those labels. Yeah, being bald. So I wouldn't consider being bald getting privileges. But I would, but youngish, no. Middle-aged, straight, yes. White, yes. Male, yes. Republicans are fucking assholes, but so are Democrats. So, it kind of doesn't matter which political side you're on. The part that actually matters is straight, white, male. Yes, that portion right there. Because now you guys are all crying if we start making fun of your balding head. You know what I mean? No. Is it by choice or did it just fall out? Mr. Clean, you're not clean. So I am probably not who you expect to hear from today. Cox continued, I'm here because yesterday morning, 49 Americans were brutally murdered. So I'm here because 49 people were gay. I'm here because it shouldn't matter. But I'm here because it does. And you should also say, and I helped murder them because I spread hate speech, to fucking, promote, there's something wrong with them. That's why we have this serial killer I popped up. That's why I said, oh, this one's a good one because we need to tackle these gay monsters. The gay monsters are crazy because it's a clusterfuck of the ideology and self-hate, right? And we're seeing a lot of the gay monsters, and strangely enough, they're Republican. I don't know they're not all Republican, but Peter Thiel's a Republican, and so is this gay monster that murdered a bunch of gays, right? When they say Republican, the conservative side, but there is conservative Dems, right? So the Republicans have a very strong thing on anti-gay speech, out and proud, but so do Democrats. So I don't really see much of a difference technically when you're looking at the overall picture of the vile hate on women, because you wouldn't have the hate towards gay people if you didn't hate women first. Because what are you saying? Again, what are you saying when you're going after gay people? You're saying that they're not man enough for you and they're closest to being women. And being a woman is the worst horrible thing you could ever be on this planet. Men are the leaders, and being gay just totally breaks their ideology all around too, Like there's a whole thing to this, but really the root is women, and they wouldn't have this hate towards these other groups of people if it were not for that first. That's why it's called male supremacy, because it's men. And they're straight, well, they're supposed to be straight white men, but we already know that they're not straight white men, right? A lot of them are gay white men that have to hate themselves and fight against the fact that they're gay. And so I believe that the hatred comes from, I hate myself because I'm gay, and I believe that it's a choice. And so therefore, because of that, I think they're demons, for trying to, that they entice me into wanting to be with other men. And so therefore I have to kill it and get it out of my face, because you're tempting me to want to flip to the other side that is so evil and a sin. So then they hate it, right? And you see this, I was even saying in the comment thing, you see it actually also with pedophiles, right? So they're like, we want to kill the pedophiles. And technically those guys are most likely pedophiles, and that they're hating themselves because they're attracted to children. So therefore they want to kill it. Like there's this weird thing about it. And then it turns out that they're busted for raping kids, right? So they're saying the same thing. So they're basically almost outing that, hey, I'm a pedophile, when they're like, we need to kill the pedophiles. Like, we shouldn't be asking to kill any group of people. I would only say there was a legitimate argument for a death penalty if it's a guy that literally went out and serial killed a whole bunch of kids, right? And there's people that don't even want the DP for that. But I'm like, if you're going to throw the DP out, it would be over something like that. That would be more equal to the crime that they did than some guy molesting a bunch of kids. They need to be put away for a long time and not be out in the public, That's the thing that you need to do. Asking to kill like their parents, because their parents are child molesters. So they're trying to say it's so stupid to ask for this because it's like half your family's going to get annihilated, you know, and then they want to do it so quickly too. And it's like, they've been throwing in the wrong people for different reasons, right? So you're going to go murder off a bunch of innocent guys. Not that anybody's lying technically about the perpetrators, but they have all these cases where it's like they pull out the wrong guy out of a lineup. And I'm against the lineup thing, really, okay, because of that. But also wrong information from certain witnesses or something else happening. Cops purposely trying to just get the wrong guy. And then there's been some cases where the victim was threatened by the perpetrator and then told to say another guy did it. I did read one of those lately and I was like, holy crap. And the kid was really young, so it's kind of like, you know, it's hard to get mad at that because I think the kid was like 7 years old and the perpetrator made a threat. And then I think then they told him it was a different guy. And then the guy got thrown in prison like the whole time. I was like, what? And then they finally let him out. And they want to put that guy to death. I'm like, no, no. So yeah, I mean, those are arguments to not even do the DP at all, right? Because that is happening, and it's actually happening on a larger scale than first believed, mostly from the past, right? Because just the way they went about everything and the corrupt cops and their processing and everything else. I am not here to tell you I know exactly what you're going through. No fucking piece of shit white man does. But they sure know how to abuse everybody, and they certainly enjoy it the whole fucking time. I'm not here to tell you that I feel your pain. Yeah, you fucking better not. And you better not speak for us. You better not do any of that for anybody, right? I don't pretend to know the depths of what you're feeling right now. But you do want to control our speech about it, right? And call us hate speech because you're the abuser? Yes, so that's what's going on. They're flipping it on its head. But I do know what it feels like to be scared. No. I got this fucking prowler outside. Do you have men like prowling around your house where they're wanting to rape you, maybe? You know what I mean? Like that kind of shit. And everywhere you move, do you have a predator fucking landlord that like tries to rape you and shit, and you're just happy to get one that doesn't finally out of about 100 of them, right? You know what I mean? Like those things. No, you don't know shit. And then, or being LGBTQ, and the minute that they find out that you're gay or something, they go kick you out. Why is government asking about AIDS and wants to tell fucking landlords that you have it? You know, that kind of shit, right? That's from you guys. And I do not know what it feels like to be, I do know what it feels, I thought I said I do not know what it feels like to be sad, because that's probably the truth of it. And I do know what it feels like to be rejected. He's like, every woman I go up to and try to date, they reject me. But I don't tell you what I do to them. I get really mad, and then I start making threats after them, and I get them thrown in the street. He's like, and more importantly, I know what it feels like to be loved. I was like, what is this shit? And more importantly, I know what it feels like to be loved by myself. Oh my God, I pull out my mirror every day. God, it's just the fucking narcissism in this. Like, yeah, well, I know what it feels like to be hated. I know that. I know that more than I would say the word love. But love is really not the thing that would make anybody, you know, like a better person. Because you're loved, you're not a better person. You know, because you're loved, you just could be the biggest piece of shit ever, and all the pieces of shit love you. I mean, do they technically love you? It would be hard for a sociopath to really love anything. But I think you should put, I really know what it feels like to be fucking stroked by the fucking public. This here, Cox talked about how he grew up in a small rural town. And that sometimes he wasn't kind to kids in his high school's class who were different. Hey, did you go to my school? Because you sound like it. You sound like the asshole that I'm talking about. The football guy. That fucking piece of shit that chased me around that called me names. Because I was different, right? The word different. I didn't turn into a serial killer, though. But if these are the people that were the shit stains of the universe, And in their profiling, that was another thing I pointed out in the criminal profiling. They go, the kid wasn't part of the in crowd. Well, this is the asshole that's part of the in crowd, right? It's interesting, right? The in crowd was a bunch of sociopaths. They were abusers. They made fun of all the kids that were different. If you were black, you dressed differently. You were poor. You may have some disabilities, right? Now, all kids were pretty shitty to each other, but not to the level that the in-crowd kids were. The in-crowd kids made sure that we couldn't even get onto the yearbook committee. They wanted to make sure I was out of the yearbook committee, so I don't have any of my friends up in here, right? But they did get some of my friends up in the yearbook. But they wanted to make sure I was left out because I was just too weird for them because I'm an art student, right? So they just could not relate to me. And I never did anything to them, right? That was the wonderful thing. Yeah, so those are the people who I would not want to be in the in crowd. My thing was not to be the popular kid because the popular kid was a fuckface. That was the thing about it. But they put it in the criminal profiles. And somehow that means there's something wrong with you. That's not true. That's not true. That's incorrect. And that's very, very bad criminal profiling. The criminal profiling that they should be doing is looking at the kids in the in crowd. And where is that even relevant, right? In the Mike Jeffries case, right? Where he's only targets the in crowd. And aren't they a bunch of sociopaths? They're a bunch of narcissistic sociopaths, right? Yes. Those are the criminals. Those are the criminals you completely okay in society. The actual socios, right? Anyway, this guy right here. Okay, I didn't know it at the time, but I know now that they were gay. I regret not treating them with the... No, you're not even talking about how shitty you treated the women. Because if you're treating gays bad, what it means, there's an automatic thing where you hate women and you shout all over them, okay? I regret not treating them with the kindness and dignity and respect, the love that they deserve. For that, I sincerely and humbly apologize. Well, there's no sorry that can make up for it because the wheel is in motion, right? It is a continuing thing that is in motion, and it was taught by your doctrine. Since then, my heart has changed, and it changed because of you. It has changed because I've gotten to know many of you. You have to get to know them to treat them like a human, right? You shouldn't need to. You don't need to, you should not have to even need to know me to treat me like a human. You've been patient with me. Wow. I was like, this guy is too much. Okay, so he concluded asking listeners to be a little kinder and try to love someone who was well, you don't need to love anybody. This is the weird thing. This guy would be creepy as hell if he's like, I love you. I'd be like, get the fuck away from me. You just need to treat people like they're human and not shit all over them every day. You know what I mean? That's all people ask. That's like the bare minimum that people ask. For my straight friends, might I suggest starting with someone who is gay? Oh, fuck women, though, because that's really where it comes from. He's like, treat women like shit, okay? Treat the gay men, because now he's only going for gay males, right? He's going for males again, right? Go for the gay men. Love a gay man. There he goes. That's the only step he can go to. Go love another man who is not into women. Okay. Cobbs, who is Mormon, was an outspoken supporter for Utah's 2015 law prohibiting housing and employment discrimination against LGBTQ people. That law didn't address controversial public accommodation issues such as whether a baker can deny service to a gay couple buying a wedding cake. But because the law contained religious exemptions, the Mormon Church supported it fully. Why are religious people treated specially? Nobody should be treated special in this country. Everybody should be treated equally, but we're not, obviously, right? So, okay, anyway, that's his bullshit. I told you, Generation X, they're all rapists and they're atrocious. I told you, going to school with them was horrible. He's admitting it. He's admitting it. It was atrocious. It was a nightmare. I wanted to get out as soon as possible. Nobody cared that their friends were bullying me or any of that other stuff, and it's you just want to get away from it all. And it's I can't deal another day with being in school with all these kids. And then the rest of them are not my friends, right? It's the rest of the school. But the worst bullying actually came from 6th grade on. Well, it was a slow incline to a little decline in the high school portion, but it was really heavily in junior high. You know, when all the sociopaths bloom, right? Yeah, right there. Yeah, but it was seen in 6th grade. Their conduct, heavily actually in 6th grade onward into that high school portion. And yeah, they were shitty as fuck. And then they set me up to get, you know, harmed again from another guy that the school hired for a prom thing or something. Yeah, I mean, technically you should have been in jail. That was another situation where they just let men do that shit and get kids at school and everything else and lure them, you know, to places. And then we were held accountable for an adult man doing that. And I would blame our school because they let him conversate with I don't even understand the whole situation. It was really weird. It was between me and my Mormon friend, believe it or not. Me and her were fucking around. I told you we were just screwing around because, you know, neither one of us had dates. I don't think any of us had dates. I don't recall any of us had any dates. So we went to the dance, right? It's usually us all together and we go to the dances and then, you know, then everybody dances with each other and shit. And then, oh yeah, we're the loners. We all turned into serial killers. No. So we went to the dance and then, these older guys at the school hired, started preying on me. I don't remember if they preyed on her too, but me and my Mormon friend were fucking around and we wrote like the stupid shit on our shirt. We're all banned security. And then somehow that turned into a thing like, please prey on us, minors here. You know, we were just fucking around. You know what I mean? We're just having fun, like as kids, like kids just having fun. It isn't an open invitation to go prey on a kid, right? And so then, yeah, and then of course I'm the one that gets harmed in it and she didn't. I don't think she did. But yeah, this other thing happened and then nothing happened with that guy. And then I don't think too many people knew about the situation. And no, that actually, yeah, that was actually pretty damn bad. What could have, like some further things could have happened with that, which it didn't. But no, the school would be here's the legal thing about it. Like the school would be accountable and also the guy itself because the situation happened at the school on the school property and it was somebody that they brought in and then there was a lead out from that situation there. Yeah. Generation X, they're all a bunch of rapist piece of shit white boys. Yes, they were terrible. They're terrible. Mostly the older ones. This guy's actually the age of us, right? So he's the one that I went to school with, my peer, right? The peer ones are fucked in the head. The ones that were older, Generation X, they're way worse, right? They're actually way worse, believe it or not. They set us up to get raped. I mean, all kinds of shit. Those guys are older, right? So they're of legal age and they were trying to rape all the younger Generation X and doing atrocious things, knocking them out. Do a million things, you guys. None of them are good. None of them. Because that was the society then. So it's not like, oh, there was this one guy that did this. No, it was all of them. Most of them anyway. So what's happening now is that those guys realize that they can get in trouble today for what they did back here. So their whole defense is like crying out things like cancel culture, saying people are liars. You know, that's all they could do. They have no defense, right? So they were raping everybody, setting up people to get raped, knocking them out, pissing all over people, doing shit like that, right? All the worst things that you could think of and molesting women any which way they can, grabbing them, groping them, and doing horrific fucking crimes. So today they're like, what? That's from the past. Like, don't bring it up. And they know they're in trouble. And they should have been in trouble then because they knew what they were doing was fucking vile, fucking evil. They don't want to be held accountable. They need to be held accountable. And now they have positions of power and they ran us out of our careers. Don't have any fucking empathy for that. They ruined the future of women. They ruined our fucking lives. They ruined it to where we can't have houses and kids and other things like that. They did this to a lot of women. And all you're supposed to care about is their fucking dick? Are you kidding? Oh, you're sad about how you acted towards people? You're a piece of shit being like that to anybody. I don't care what your ideology is. You're just a pure piece of shit. You didn't know you were being a piece of shit? Anytime I did something, I know I'm being a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Like, There isn't a good excuse for it, but this is them. They created that culture. And so other girls in the culture started acting that way. It's a follow the leader. Men were doing it to everybody. None of them got in trouble for it. So they promoted the men to do it. And they called us all sluts and whores. And they did it in front of the teachers and the parents. And they okayed it. They okayed the white boy to be the rapist. Piece of shit. Spewing hate speech in a fucking junior high. And homophobia. They were fucking spewing this shit, right? So it becomes common language for all kids, right? Every part of it is bad. They know they're terrible. That's why they hate me, because I'm pulling up what a piece of shit they are. I would feel convicted too, because you're the ones that did it. They're the same ones right now trying to control the speech. You fucking created this horrible speech. Who are you attacking? You're attacking me. You're attacking me. You're not attacking you. You never attack you. You're going to make sure everything is about you.